We're back here with segment three. We got Gabe telling us about Tim Hardaway Jr. and what he expects from him this upcoming season. So, Gabe?
Yeah, so Tim Hardaway Jr. is a very similar player to Fontecchio, except that he lacks 3 inches, the basketball IQ, defense, and he's bad at reading basketball. So really just the shooting. And that's really
We
what he's done. That's really what he's done in the league since he came in. He's in his career he's at about 14 points per game at 36% from deep. Last season he was at exactly that as well. About 3 rebounds and a little under 2 assists a game. He's a volume shooter who doesn't do much else on the court. He kind of reminds me of the Christian Wood of shooting guards. A lot of the people on the Mavericks subreddit, he was like the Killian Hayes there. He's like half the people loved him, half the people hated him, and people were like, "Oh, he needs smarter coaching to put him in positions to succeed." But if you're playing next to Luca and Kyrie and you still get traded and you're a shooter, um, doesn't spell too good. But all that being said, he did average 14 points a game last year, which was more than I thought actually. He can shoot the basketball. So I think he will be a perfect Alec Burks replacement this year, which means just as infuriating and just as needed sometimes. You guys have anything else on Tim Hardaway?
uh yeah, I think he's got a little more oomph with the ball in his hands than you give him credit for. We should have put someone else in charge of Jim Hardaway Jr. because Gabe is just clearly a THJ
You,
hater.
you want me to read the number one comment on the Tim Hardaway
No,
the post?
actually, sure,
It
whatever.
says the thing if Exum is available, he's much better in the clutch because he's a better ball handler and with the ball in his hands.
Well,
So
yeah,
if
I'm not saying
Exum
like
is that guy,
yeah, and NBA Reddit notoriously the best analysts of the game. But he does have like a good amount of shot attempts from the mid range. Last year playing with Luca, I like at least I mean I did. I'm not gonna say I watched the most Mavericks games in the world, but I did watch a couple, and I was always sort of enjoyed his ability to like one dribble pull up midi when the defense collapses on him. So like he's got a little bit of something. I agree that his main focus on this team will obviously be to shoot the three. Um, Interesting thing about him is, whereas our other shooters that we've talked about, like Simone Fontecchio and who do we talk about? Who's Mr. Corner Three?
Uh,
We talked about him. We
Disaster.
talked about him last
Best.
spot.
Oh,
No,
Beasley.
Beasley. Uh, Conversely to those guys, Tim Hardaway Jr. shot way more of his threes above the break. Interestingly, even though he played with Luca and Kyrie, he had 440 threes above the break and 150 like from the corners combined.
I can see that
Uh,
though, like in a fast break situation, just to push ahead and he steps into it. So I can see that.
Now he still shot him at a high percentage from the corners, but it's just interesting. He gets his threes from a little bit different locations than our other guys.
Hmm.
I wonder how that fits into what we got going.
I mean, that's
I
actually
think
a really interesting point because, like, say you do have, like, say you run out Cade, Bees, Tech, and Hardaway, right? Like, you can put Bees and Tech in the corners, and that's fine because they're strong suit, and then Hardaway above the break. That's actually a really good point. So
I
that's
think it
interesting.
yeah, it also shows something a little bit I think more to versatility because I think above the break counts as anything that's like wings or top of the key. So
Hmm.
anything that's like not directly corners. So I think he's a little more versatile in his 3 point game than some other guys. He can get them up.
I like that. I like that, and I hope we get to see some playing time from him. I mean, I'm blanking on it now. I think somewhere I heard he was like the third highest scorer. I don't remember if it was in the playoffs or the regular season on the Mavericks team behind Luca and Kyrie. Um, but was it him who got a lot of criticism for his playoff performance, or was that just Tobias?
That was him.
That was him too, right? So like, again, we're gonna bring this up when we talk about Tobias too. We're not really worried about playoff performance right now. For the Pistons, we're not going to the playoffs. We just need guys who can just come in and just make shots, right? We're not really planning on going anywhere right now. If we make the play in, I think we're all going to be ecstatic about it. But I'm excited to see what THJ brings. But Connie, anything else you got to add, or otherwise we'll kick it to Valley.
Go
All
to
right,
Valley.
Valley, what do you think about THJ this upcoming season?
One of those guys I predict that won't be here after the deadline, honestly. I know he's on a big deal, but even though we're in desperate need of spacing, I think we filled in other spacers that are essentially better than him. Um, I I really don't have much to say on Timmy. I think a lot of the things we can say about Timmy, we said about Malik Beasley, except it's kind of lesser with Timmy. I feel like it's the general perception. Yes, because he's on a bigger deal, but also because yes, Dallas's bench was terrible for the most part, and he was essentially kicked out of that rotation, which I think really does mean something. I'm happy to have a guy who enjoys like Michigan enjoys being here on the team, but I'm afraid it's just not gonna be one of those long lasting things.
That's fair.
If you're talking about Alec Burks, man, I think he's gonna be levels off of Alec Burks. He won't be there.
He's not as good as Alec Burks, I
Oh,
think.
fuck,
But
guys, come on.
he's not. Just watch. I think he's
Okay,
more Joe Harris than Alec
just-
Burks
well,
this season.
all right. Can we acknowledge that Tim Hardaway Jr. has hit higher highs than Alec Burks has in his career?
Mm-hmm.
Has he?
Has he? What's Alec Burks' best season? Sorry, this is gonna take. Now we're gonna
It
go
was in
over
Golden
go on the
State
tangent.
when they were all injured, I think.
Alec Burks' best scoring season was 16.1 on worst
Eight-
percentages. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go.
So
Come
yeah,
on.
okay, so Tim Hardaway's probably
He's better than Alec Burks right now.
Right now.
Throughout his career, Tim Hardaway Jr. has been the better player than Alec Burks. I'll die on that hill.
That's
all right.
fair.
But either way, I think he's coming off the bench to score, not playing with Cade. I think it'll be a lot of him and Ivy together. And yeah, I think like Valley said, he could be moved if a team wants that scoring punch for like a playoff bench, like the Lakers or whatever.
Yeah.
He's gonna
and
be expiring as well this year, right? Or does he have one more?
I believe it's expiring.
Yeah. So that becomes very valuable.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe he just gets heavy minutes to start the year until like Feb, and then like he's gone, and then we give those minutes to somebody else. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But Gabe, close us out on the THJ talk.
Got nothing else.
Great closer. Well, with that being said, we're gonna move into our next segment. We're gonna talk about the rookies, Bobby Clinton and Ron Holland.